Welcome, and thank you for joining us on our Business Spotlight. I'm Christy Davis, Executive Coach with Action Coach DFW, and I have the pleasure of having Vishal Bhasin join me with Wize Computing Academy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Christy. It's my pleasure being here and having this conversation with you.
I'm excited. I know our listeners are going to gain many, many nuggets. So if you haven't already liked or subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go ahead and do that. And because you're going to want to record this session and listen to it more than once. All right. So why don't we start out? Again, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you give us a little background about your business and about your personal business background?
Certainly, absolutely. So, I'm co-founder of Wize Computing Academy. My wife Venus and we started this company in January 2015. And what we do is we focus on overall cognitive development of a child. We do it through the medium of teaching them important 21st century skills like coding, robotics, and design. The way we do this is we partner with institutions like schools, preschools, community centers, and with families directly, and we do our classes there. We offer a lot of after-school enrichment programs. We do classes online, a lot of camps during school breaks, and we decided to expand our business through franchising, and we awarded our first franchise in January 2019, and we are currently franchising in the US and Canada. And we have 27 locations in total. Four of those are in Canada. One is in India. It's a small satellite office that we have. And the rest are very much here. We're very Texas heavy. So we have 12 of those locations within Texas itself. We are very proud and happy to call Texas and Dallas as home. I am here in Coppell. This is where our headquarters are. And my background, real quick, I'm a computer science engineer. I did my MBA here at SMU Dallas. And Venus, she went to UTD for her master's in IT and management. So we're very much we're engineers. We see ourselves technologists in the education space. I know a lot of people go from education to technology. We sort of made the other way, and we are very happy and very content, when we see how kids are progressing through our courses and curriculum.
Well, what a niche that you saw. One, you were in the IT space and saw that there was a need to educate and develop out our students to set them up for success post high school, college degrees, workforce, whatever that might look like for someone, for a student leaving the high school years. What led you to really kind of hone in on that student education level?
Certainly. So we always wanted to be entrepreneurs. We were both working in the tech industry, and Venus was in Bank of America, and I was also in tech. And we our eldest, who's 15 now, she was 6 at the time, and we wanted her to go through the kind of programs that we envisaged that we had in mind, and which are truly project based, experiential learning, learning by doing, right? Where we wanted her to not just succeed, we wanted her to fail, and then succeed. So she knows how to not do things before she learns how to really do things, right? So, and when we looked around, we felt like there was certainly a gap in what was being provided and what students were going through. And quite frankly, we said, okay, why don't we start it? And we started small. We started collaborating with some schools, and one thing led to another, and we felt that what we had in mind was very complementary to what the schools were teaching to students, right? The schools are doing a great job at teaching them, in using their curriculum. What we do is we allow them to apply and enhance that knowledge through our project-based STEM approach. And we also provide them a platform to participate in our internal competitions and external competitions, which are worldwide coding and robotics competition. There's actually one happening right now in Houston. It's the world first Lego League competition. I think over 100 countries are represented there. Our teams are going there as well. So we just wanted to bring that platform, bring that opportunity to our learners. And we feel that this kind of education, which is so relevant in the times that we are living in, right? We are all going through this huge, gigantic wave of AI or
Yeah.
generative AI, or whatever you want to call it. It's even more relevant today than it was year, 2 years, or 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
our goal is to have such project-based enrichment education available to 100% of students and not just the ones who can afford it.
I love that concept. And I love the fact that you talk about project based, about applying and then implementation. So often, even as an entrepreneur, someone going out, you can have great ideas, but if you don't apply and then implement, they are all for naught. And I think unfortunately our curriculum sometimes in our independent school districts are not necessarily about implementation and applying those learning skills. So I applaud you for the idea, for coming out with it, for implementing it. And my goodness, kudos to you that you're in 27. You have 27 franchises, correct? Is that I
Right.
believe that's what I heard. And
Right.
then you're in Canada and then all across the US. And then you said they had a small one in India. What a wonderful opportunity. So as you talk about, your leadership, it's you and your wife. So tell us a little bit about your business structure and how that's grown over the course of time when you started.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we started with our company here in Coppell, and that still exists today. I call it internally Franchise Zero, right? We do exactly what all our franchises do as well. Same programs. Often that serves as the test bed for all the new things that we are doing, and we're doing that, all over the all every month in a year. So that's that structure, and Venus leads that with a lot of very good folks in her team, and we are focused on that in the Coppell and surrounding areas. And then we also have a company which is the franchising company, which is awarding franchisees to people in the US and Canada. So structure-wise, these are the two companies. These are two separate LLCs, and Venus focuses on running the operations there, and everything that is part of operations, HR, training, onboarding, customer relationships, everything that has to be done there. And my focus is business development, growth in general, both on the franchising side and also in our location here. Also providing some strategic leadership on curriculum management, technology, overall business leadership, right? Which sort of helps. So, we have parallel tracks, Venus and I, right? While she's focused on, three things, and I'm focused on the other three things. And, the idea is to sort of have those parallel tracks, focus on the things that matter within our individual areas.
And that leads me a lot of times when we're talking to younger businesses or even doesn't even have to be fewer in years. It can be any where they don't have that structure. It sounds like you and your wife have definitely defined structures. You stay in your lane and are able to run, make decisions, and be creative and implement as needed to grow your business, to retain and to succeed in those areas.
Absolutely. So that's the idea, is autonomous, so that people, the leaders within, whatever they're doing, they can take the decisions themselves. And also, like, we are so moving so fast, smaller companies, there are so many things that are happening at any given time. So we're moving fairly fast, and we want to make sure that while we are taking counsel of each other, but we are not becoming that single point of failure that every decision has to go through one person kind of a workspace.
Yeah. And you said something earlier that triggered, and you said failing again. You said you wanted your daughter to learn and make mistakes before she succeeded. I find that even in our businesses, we've gotten that word failure has gotten a bad rap.
Right, right.
That in theory, if we're not trying new things, if we're not making mistakes, if we're not failing, we're not moving forward. We're not making progress. We're not tracking and measuring what worked, what didn't work, and how do we improve it. So when you think about that within your program, within your business, how has that led to either leadership skills changing and evolving over the time, or developing and recruiting and retaining your team members?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the idea is, quite frankly, the idea is have a team of people with growth mindset and lifelong learners. Those are the two key character things that we are looking for people. That's very important, much more than, whether Vishal or Christy has done something in the past that we can benefit from. I think those skills can be taught. These character skills are the aspects are the ones that we're looking for. If we can get right individuals in the team, I think that's more than half the battle won. And really working with people like that, because as a business, you got to be super agile. You have to react sometimes. You are proactively working on strategic things that you want to do, but many times you are reacting to it. You have to be adaptable. You have to be agile. All those things come in only when you are a growth minded and a continuous improvement kind of a person. So that's super important for us as we hire. And how does any company grow? Whether it is a multi-billion dollar company or a multi-million dollar company, right? It's about trying new things. And we call them growth experiments, right? So the idea is you are identifying what kind of things you want to try, and you go in and try them knowing that it may not work, right? Many times, if you go in thinking that it's got to work, you may spend way too much time trying to make it work, where maybe it's not the thing maybe it wasn't the right time for it, right? So knowing that these are growth experiments that we want to try, and if we try 20 experiments and even two or three of them succeed, we are so much better than we were 6 months ago, right? Having that, it compounds, right? Everything we do slightly better every week, it compounds over time. So the idea is, go with the mentality that it could fail and it's totally fine. And that's what we try to inculcate amongst ourselves, also train as we bring on new franchises, right? We're always training them on these aspects and saying, don't focus so much on bottom line day one. Focus on building a company with solid foundation, with the systems that we put in place. Bottom line will take care of itself, right? You got to focus, because one of the cool things about what we do is we also provide education. So it's sort of, there is a purpose, there is giving back to the community aspect to it. We obviously want to build a very profitable business, but we also want where all our leaders are able to give back to their respective communities.
Yeah. Well, and that's a beautiful thing. We believe our action coaches mission is world abundance through re-education of businesses. And that's one of those things that you're doing. You're actually creating franchise opportunities, business opportunities within communities, and then by that franchise becoming successful, you are also educating and making successful students, lifelong learners, creators, people that can create jobs, people that can hold
Absolutely.
jobs, people that can grow in that community. So what
Absolutely.
a full circle you have with your business.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. That is certainly the goal is to create people and allow students to be creators and not just the users of tech. I bet you have kids and nieces and nephews that can teach both of us together how to use our devices better, right? But I bet you 9 out of 10 don't know how to create them. And it's not because it's their fault. I think it's because they were perhaps not exposed to, this aspect, the creation aspect of things during their formative age, right? And we are hoping that we can fill that gap and show them the art of possible so that they can learn it as they grow, right? So for us, having that kind of exposure in the formative age when you're in elementary, middle school is extremely important. And that's where we focus on too.
Definitely. So you kind of, obviously we know your ideal client is that student aged, obviously the parents of those students, but how are you going about? You said you partnered with some of the schools early on, but how do you go about attracting your clients, your customers, your students to come join in your programs?
Sure thing, sure thing. So we are, I think, collectively in over 150 institutions, schools, preschools, community centers as we speak. So we've certainly sort of grown over time. And the way we structure our business is, I like to call it B2B2C and B2C, right? The B2B2C aspect is partnering and then reaching out to students through our partnerships. And the B2C is direct to consumers because, we'll have always have families in our areas whose kids school we don't go to and they still want to participate with us, right? I think the question that you had was mostly on the partnership aspect, right? So when we get started in any new city, our approach is to reach out to the local institutions, schools, preschools, community centers, and let them know what we do, right? We do some market research on understanding what's already available there, if there is anything, so we can position ourselves better. Ultimately, the idea is to provide value to these institutions and to also their students, right? If I can tell, if you were a school leader, and if I tell you, Kirsty, we will do everything, it's a turnkey, and we will keep you up to date. We treat you as a natural stakeholder in your children's learning. You will know exactly what we are teaching. You will see the progress over time. We will bring you in project showcases and competitions so you can see it first time what we are doing. And quite frankly, this is something that we are complementing. We are not competing, right? We are complementing. We are doing something that will only enhance your children's learning. So it's the idea is to set up a win-win structure. And in some cases, this is especially in community centers and preschools where we also do revenue share, right? So we will share some revenue with them. So it's all in all, it's better. Through our classes, we've seen, especially community centers and preschools, they get students that would have never come to them otherwise. So it's more, more people coming into their doors as well.
What great concepts in regards to giving back into the community, one with that rev share, one creating additional clients for the partnership, and then again the ultimate is that you're creating better students better
Right.
students at the end of their graduating from high school, moving into college, or going straight from high school into career paths, whatever that looks like, vocational, whatever that might be. You're creating a better suited, well-rounded um, thinkers and
Absolutely.
creators, as opposed to the byproduct of just read and answer questions. So what an amazing program that you have. I know we focused a lot in regards to your business. One, I'd love to, I'm always curious because you mentioned it, right? Failing, and I said failing forward. So along this journey for Wize Computing Academy, what's been one of your biggest hurdles you've had to overcome?
I guess biggest challenge would be really understanding that as a individual, identifying the right set of people from the very beginning and creating a strong foundation, both people and processes, right? When you have so many things that you want to do and as an individual entrepreneur, right? It was both Venus and I, so I wouldn't say just me, but both of us, we're doing so many things, and you tend to take it on everything on yourself when you do that, right? But if you want to build a scalable business, you need to put in the right foundation, processes, and identify the right people, right? I think those are the things that you may say it's common sense, but it's easier said than done, especially when you're in it, right? So I would say that is something that I bet a lot of people like me, sort of figure out and struggle with. But the idea is to keep getting better and better at it, right? That and then
Absolutely.
I think initially we were looking at this and we have 3 kids now, and it's also taking the sure path of having, a regular salary, and it's very hard to give that up and then take this risk, right? So I feel like I might have waited maybe a couple of years longer than I should have, right? Maybe I should have jumped into this a little bit earlier. But I mean, that's hindsight is 2020. That's looking back. So those are the few things that I think are super important. We always tell, learning from the things that we've learned, right? In our training to our franchise owners, we say, first of all, don't focus on bottom line, at least for the first 6 months, right? Focus on building a strong foundation, learn the culture. And quite frankly, when you're a small business, you should be really focused on the top line. Don't worry about the bottom line. Our business is a asset light, low cost, lean business. So, it's from the way it is set up, it is, higher margin than a usual business. So focus on setting yourself up well for the first 6 months, and hopefully that'll bring much more success. So the idea is to learn from the mistakes, and I'm sure we'll do more mistakes, we'll learn, but that's the idea. As long as we're learning from them, I think it's okay.
Absolutely. And listeners, as I have done these business spotlights, I will share over and over and over again. One of the key factors that each and every guest says is about those foundations, about setting up your policies and procedures, your standard operating practices, all of those things, having your how-to manuals, really having that in place. And you just again said it more than once today on our session
Right.
of spotlight. So I obviously that's very important, so everyone please take note of that. Now let's fast forward just a little bit. Where do you see your business in 5 years?
Yeah, certainly. So the way we view Wise Computing Academy is, we are this platform that's hopefully eliminating, but at least reducing the friction for students to learn this important 21st century skills, for leaders to make it available, and for the teachers to teach, right? So with this platform where we want to make it as easy as possible for students to come in, for teachers to teach, and really expand this. So, we see ourselves continuing down that path. We see we we see ourselves on the forefront of adopting the technological advances that are happening in sort of the world around us. And while the foundational concepts don't change, right? Engineering concepts, computer science concepts, they're foundational, they don't change. But how we teach them, how we keep enhancing the engagement of students in the class by using this technology, that changes, right? So we want to be continuing to be on the forefront of that. We want to continue to make it super easy for people to come on board, whether on the business ownership side or on the customer side, and continue to grow this as a franchise and also our own sort of company unit. So that's how we want to continue sort of doing. And quite frankly, I think, as I was telling you, Kirsty, this should be available to every child in the world. So there is certainly possibility of growing even beyond the borders and, getting into sort of other countries and bringing our programs there as well.
Absolutely. And in our world of technology, there are no barriers. There are no
Absolutely.
boundaries at
Right.
this point in our world.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
Definitely. Okay, as we kind of start to wrap our conversation up today, I think there's incredible amounts of nuggets for all of our listeners. I certainly know I learned some things. And thank you again for parting some of your wisdom and giving some best practices and some a sneak peek into your business. So I'm going to do some rapid fire questions
Okay.
for you, just top of head, right?
Sure. Sure.
So, what one piece of advice would you give to a business owner?
One piece of advice, I would say, focus on, growth mindset and be a lifelong learner. I think if you can do that, it really doesn't matter what business you get yourself in. As long as you have a passion for this, I think the chances of success are higher.
Passion, lifelong learner, and passion. What two great concepts! I think that can be set you up for success in any and all things.
I agree.
Um,
Agree.
okay, what one book have you read so far this year or last year that made an impact in you?
There's so many. So I am currently reading Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. That's a good, I think I'm one-fourth through it. So it's a very good read. Certainly recommend that. We have all our franchises read a book called Wealthy Franchisee. I think it's not just for franchise, it's a great business book in general. I recommend that. Also, if you don't mind, I can, I'm a avid podcast listener. I
That is,
love quite a
yeah,
few business podcasts. The one that I particularly enjoy, they're very long. They can be 3, 4, 5 hours long. This one that I would give a shout out to is called Acquired. And
acquired.
what they do is they dissect companies and they look at, why decisions were made, individuals, company. They do a great job, outstanding job. So I would certainly recommend.
Okay, I love that. Thank you for recommending a podcast.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
all right. So again, as we wind down, I want to make sure that our listeners, our audience, know how to reach you and or how to be a how to become a member of Wise Computing Academy. So please share how they can find you.
Absolutely. So website is the best place, wizeacademy.com, Wize. You can Google me, find me on LinkedIn. Info@wizeacademy.com is the email address. And, feel free to reach out. Happy to meet in person or Zoom or a phone call, whatever works.
Fantastic. Okay, so one last question. What is most inspiring you today?
I would say it's the students and seeing their success. We get so many parents come to us and not just talk about the technical skills. Of course, we're teaching that, but also some of the things that we learn, and the feedback we get is, my child is much more interactive than he used to be. He's talking to me a lot more than he used to. He's really gotten out of his shell. Those kinds of things are super inspiring. I think we want to continue down that path and continue to hopefully enrich people's lives through our education approach.
I love that. Adding to the self worth of a student, of a child, their confidence, not just their technical skills, their
Absolutely.
academic skills. That's very important because if they don't have the self worth and the confidence, it's really hard to actually integrate and utilize those technical and academic skills.
So true. So true. Absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, Vishal, thank you so much for being our guest here on our business spotlight. I appreciate the time invested, and I know our listeners have learned so much. And again, don't forget to record this so that you can go back and listen to it again. Thank you again so much for being here, and I'll leave you with the last word.
Certainly. No, thank you for having me. It was a blast. I hope that we're able to give back a little bit to folks listening in, and I look forward to staying connected.
Definitely. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.